Hi, this is Greg Lowe. This is another video in the SDU Tools series, and this is on capturing, loading, and analyzing performance tuning traces. There are lots of ways of capturing performance information on SQL Server, but a very common problem is trying to work out which queries are causing the biggest headache right now. Which queries are the ones that are performing really badly, or which queries are being endlessly executed when they shouldn't be. Now, this could be captured via the SQL Trace API, or it could be done via extended events. But because SDU Tools is targeting SQL Server 2008 and later, in this case, we've chosen to use SQL Trace because it's still available in all versions. We want to make it easy to capture this, so all we do here is we specify the duration, so in this case we'll say 2 minutes, the name of the trace file we want to create and the folder, and then which databases on the server we want to filter information for. And finally, do we want to specify a maximum file size? Now, if we do this, we'll just execute the trace. That does everything required to get a trace up and running. So in this case, let's go in and just start querying that database. So let's pop open this database, and let's do a select aster from sales.invoices, or let's say invoice lines, and we might execute that and might even do that once or twice. Let's do it if we add an order by stock item ID and throw that in a couple of times. Let's maybe do a top 100 and so on. So we just have a few of these sort of queries, so that this way the trace will get to capture some of the types of queries that are being executed right now that could be the ones that are causing us the problem. And so without having to do anything else, this will then run the trace, and eventually it will stop the trace being captured all by itself. And so we just picked, in this case, 2 minutes. Okay, so now that the trace has been captured, we're going to read the trace file from the folder, put it into this database, this schema, and this file name. We're in addition going to work out the normalized version of the command. We'll have a look at in a minute what that does. And SP reset connection is used all the time in connection pooling. It's usually quite useless to load that up. So let's just call this and load up the data. Now that's loaded a trace file, and in fact we can see what's going on here. If I just said, look, select aster from that development database.dbo SDU trace. Development just happens to be the name of the database where we've installed the tools, and we can see the data that this has loaded up. But notice there's 2 versions of each command. So for example, if we look down the list here, where we have select top 100 here, if you look across to the other side, you'll see the normalized version of that command shows select top hash. So the specific value has been removed. This allows us to do a better job of working out what patterns of commands are causing a problem. The final step in looking at this is to call analyze performance tuning trace. We tell it the table of where this lives. And this will have now gone and analysed the trace. First up, tells us the total number of reads and writes and the number of commands that were executed. It then breaks down based on the total number of logical reads. So notice there were 10,077 for this query, and that was 54% of the workload, and so on down through the commands. The next one has a look by duration, and so this is the percentage duration. If we look further down, this is the total number of executions of that type of command, again based on the pattern of the command because we've templated it. Sometimes though it's important to see how many times a specific command is executed, and in that case the set down the bottom here allows us to look at the total executions of a specific command. And finally we get an indication of how many commands per second have been executed. We hope you find this useful. For more information on SDU Tools and for a link to download them, please visit our site at www.sqldownunder.com.